Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Peter here. So it's a Saturday and as usual these days I'm going to be giving you a relationship story. I'd just like to say though I'm quite happy that I'm getting some different kind of stories sent to me. I put a call out a few weeks ago saying if you've got stories send them to me, and if you have sent me a story I will get round to making a video about it, but I've got quite a lot now, so please do be patient. The story I've got for you today was sent to me by a guy who is now 40. He's an American. This story happened 10 years ago in Phuket. He was 30 at the time. He'd never been to Phuket. What's different about this guy, he's actually an American Korean, so his race is Korean, but he was born in America. And this is his story that he sent to me, and I'll just get straight on with it. So the title of the story is Love at First Sight in Phuket. This story is about my first trip ever to Thailand when I was in my late 30s. I have regularly travelled around Southeast Asia. This time, however, my friend and I decided that we should visit somewhere new, so I searched for new destinations. I saw an advert with a phrase, "Phuket, let's go to Phuket." We were sold and booked our trip to Phuket in Thailand. It was my first trip ever to the land of smiles, and we didn't bother to do much research. All we knew was that Patong Beach area had it all: the beaches, the restaurants, hotels and the nightlife. We arrived at our hotel located right above a huge shopping centre at the end of Bangla Road. For the first few days of our trip we did the usual: visiting the beach, swimming in the pool, cheap foot massages, and we ate a lot of delicious Thai food. Somewhere near the tail end of our trip, we decided to visit a beachfront seafood restaurant, and that is where I met her. I fell in love instantly. The hostess at the restaurant was an absolute stunner. I still remember her tight one-piece dress, her sharp eyes, straight black hair and light tan skin. She was petite but curvy in the right areas. I was memorised. She ushered us to our table. I couldn't stop looking at her. She would occasionally come by our table and play the flirt game, and we would exchange smiles. This feeling doesn't come often, and I was already head over heels for her. I don't even remember the seafood dinner. I'm a relatively shy guy, but I was able to get her name. My plan was to visit the restaurant again after leaving the seafood restaurant. My poor buddy had to listen to me talk about her for the rest of the day and into the following evening. The following night we ended up at Hollywood nightclub on Bangla Road. What a fitting name for what was about to happen. Already a bit buzzed, we entered the smoky club. Remember, in those days you could smoke in pretty much everywhere in Thailand. I remember inside the club the majority of the customers were women, and it felt like my buddy and I were the only men left on earth. We were movie stars walking down the red carpet. The women parted like the Red Sea as if they wanted to get a better look at us. Sorry to toot my own horn, but I was at the prime of my life. I had a neat haircut, a strong jawline, and maintained a good physique throughout. Judo and exercise, not to mention I am a Korean man who is riding the K-pop wave throughout Asia. Yeah, the Thais, they like this Korean pop music still to this day. Most of the women we met had an instant interest in Korean people and culture. It was common to hear pop songs played at the bars. We took full advantage of this, of course, as we walked deeper into the club. We experienced the catcalls, the handsome man you always hear, and yes, I was sexually assaulted. I had it a few times, but I didn't mind. I was in a high drunken state. I was a movie star. I was levitating and shooting laser beams out of my eyes. I think we get the idea there. I knew my buddy felt the same. To my amazement, I watched my buddy point his finger at one girl to the right and another to his left as he made the come here motion. The two women danced towards him and soon they were in a sandwich embrace. I couldn't stop laughing. The women were like toast and my buddy was the melted cheese in between. That's how close they were dancing. My friend continued to dance the night away while I was content enough to enjoy the atmosphere. But as I looked around, I remember my gaze locked onto a smoky area by the tables. As the smoke partially cleared, I saw this attractive woman do the hair flick, look directly at me and wave hello. I swear this was all in slow motion. I felt like a bug attracted to a light and floated towards her. I needed to be near her. To my absolute delight, it was the same hostess from the seafood restaurant I had met the previous night. I was ecstatic. I was in love. I was on cloud nine with the liquid courage in full effect. We danced, we embraced, we drank some more, and wouldn't let go of her beautiful hands. As we ventured into the early hours, she informed me that she had to go home. I walked out to Patong Beach Road where she parked her motorbike. I remember giving her a kiss and feeling the butterflies in my stomach like I was a teenage boy once again. I told her that I wanted to see her again and that I was leaving on Friday, which was in 2 days' time. We exchanged numbers and off she went. She cancelled on me the following day. I was disappointed but met her on the Friday at the shopping centre. We held hands and walked around. I told her I was leaving that night and she looked confused and disappointed. I realised the misunderstanding. When I told her that I was leaving on Friday, she thought I meant in 5 days. Her English was poor, so I should have known better. Lesson learned. I wanted to enjoy my final hours with her, but something terrible happened as we were holding hands and walking through the mall. I could sense a bad presence. As I turned to look, this Thai guy had already made his way around to the front of us. He had a cell phone pointed at us, obviously recording, and he was very agitated. He yelled some Thai words. I don't understand Thai, but those were the meanest and baddest words I've ever heard in any language. The guy quickly ran off before I could say anything. I looked over at my beautiful island girl, trying to understand what was going on. The look on her face said it all. Her expression was of guilt and of fear. And she apologised. She was in full panic. She said she was sorry. As she let go of my hand, she chased after the guy. I pieced it together as I watched her run off. The guy recording us was a friend of the boyfriend. I was devastated. To be honest, I meet this beautiful Thai witch. She does her hocus pocus and magic, sprinkles. I'm under her spell. It turns out she has a boyfriend and she is a cheater, but what can I do? I am still under her spell. For the next couple of hours, I paced around the mall. I really don't know what I was expecting, but I was secretly hoping to run into her again. Instead, I remember seeing a handsome Thai man who was about my age. He looked upset, and I remember he was alone and didn't seem to have a destination. I convinced myself this was her boyfriend. I assumed he was looking for her, or worse, he was looking for me. Although I am confident in my ability to protect myself, I knew I was in the wrong. I slunk away back to my hotel room. I went from Hollywood movie star to Bollywood chump. That night I flew back to Seoul in South Korea. I couldn't stop thinking about her. Even after learning the truth, she was in my mind for weeks, if not months. Attraction is a funny thing. Many years later, I returned to Phuket. I returned to the beachfront seafood restaurant. I returned to Hollywood nightclub. I returned to the shopping mall in the hope of meeting the girl who I fell in love with and who broke my heart in less than a week. Of course, I never saw her again. I share this story to commiserate with anyone who experienced love first with a sad ending. Although there wasn't a happy ending, this trip made me fall in love with Thailand, the people, the culture, the beautiful views. I've been going back to Thailand ever since. That's quite a common thing that comes up in these stories. A lot of these guys, they'll meet a girl and they'll stay with her for a couple of weeks, or some incidents happen, and they'll go back on a vacation on the following year and they go around all the venues that they went with this girl, and they can never find her. They move around quite quickly, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll be back on Wednesday for my news roundup. Until then, thanks as always, guys, for watching this one.